It's 8 p.m. in Banjul, and from our studios on MDI Road, this is the news. But first, I am Tenenjiti and then the headlines. The Vice President reaffirms the government's commitment to human rights. The National Assembly Select Committee continue their scrutiny of public institutions. The army in Zimbabwe seizes power with reports indicating that President Robert Mugabe has been placed under house arrest. And South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters Party calls for the nationalization of the country's private banks. Well, now these and more coming ahead. I am Tenenjite again. And now the news in detail. The Vice President has renewed the government's commitment to promoting human rights. Madam Fatoumata Jallow Tambajang was speaking during the closing ceremony of the 61st Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Seni Marina was there.
This is the first ordinary session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights has ended at the Kairaba Beach Hotel with a final communique emerging to cap weeks of intense discussions. The document contains resolutions and communication on key issues geared towards the promotion and protection of human rights in the continent. During the 2 weeks deliberation, the Commission considered periodic reports from Rwanda, Niger and Congo, and also examined and adopted the draft study on HIV, laws and human rights, draft guidelines on access to information and elections in Africa, amongst others. Declaring the high-level convergence that brought together over 600 delegates across Africa close, the Vice President said government will continue to respect the rights of its citizens.
Promotion and protection of human rights in Africa must continue to be a priority for us all. It is my fervent hope that the issues discussed and recommendations made during this session will be made accessible to all. This is a new Gambia being driven by the people, a government that recognizes, respects and upholds the fundamental human rights of all, and is committed to support, promote and protect the rights of not only her citizens, but the rights of other African people.
The country number 2 told the gathering that sustainable peace and development can only be achieved in Africa when human rights for all are promoted, protected and guaranteed. Commissioner Lawrence Mute is the vice chairperson of the African Commission. He congratulated the new government of the Gambia for measures taken to promote and protect human rights.
And here we can speak about civil conflict which persists. We can speak about acts of terror which continue to maim and to kill our populations. And Africa's citizens continue to face poverty, unemployment, and worsening food and nutritional insecurity. Our citizens' civil, political, economic, social, cultural, and indeed our citizens' people's rights continue to be violated.
Reading the final communique at the end of the session, Commissioner E.L. King said the Commission adopted many resolutions, reports and made recommendations aimed at strengthening democracy and human rights in Africa.
The Commission launched the following 3 documents and studies during the 61st Ordinary Session. A study on extractive industries, land rights and indigenous population communities' rights, guidelines on freedoms of association and assembly, guidelines on sexual violence and its consequences.
Meanwhile, the 62nd Ordinary Session is all set to be hosted by Mauritania from 25th April to 9 May of 2018, while Banjul will again play host to the 23rd Extraordinary Session in February 2018. Despite the progress made by state parties to the African Charter towards protecting and promoting human rights, the Commission remained concerned by the persistent violations of human rights in many ways. Seni Marina for GRTS News.
The Gambia condemns the recent launch of a long-range missile by Yemen's Houthi rebels targeting King Khalid International Airport in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. A statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemns all actions geared towards escalating tension in the Gulf region or undermining the security and remains committed to promoting regional and global peace. Now, the Accountant General, Mamadou Lamin Ba, and former senior staff of the Central Bank of the Gambia, Lanconte, Wednesday reappeared before the Commission of Inquiry into the financial dealings of former President Jammeh. The Accountant General was questioned on the Gambia's HIPC account, while Lanconte and Adama Njai respectively answered questions on the sale of Karaba Hotel. Modu Bajan has more.
Proceedings continue at the Commission of Inquiry into the financial dealings of former President Jammeh, with the Accountant General Mamadou Lamin Ba answering questions on transactions concerning the Gambia's highly indebted poor country account.
Exhibit CB33 includes a letter from your office to the First Deputy Governor dated 3rd July 2007, signed by Clara Sen Mendy. Have you seen that letter before?
I have not seen it before.
But you'll agree that's a letter instructing Central Bank to open the account?
Yes.
Are you ready to tell us about the transactions in the account?
Yes, I'm aware of some transactions that have been effected through the account.
We want information on all the transactions effected through the account, because these transactions were effected on the instructions of your office.
I have not got information on the credit, the deposit into the account, and where the money is coming from. I have not got that with me. It's only some payments that went against the credits that went into the account that I have.
Well, then it seems to me then we will have to invite you on another day.
Reappearing before the Commission, former senior staff of the Central Bank of the Gambia, Lanconte, also informed Commission members of his involvement in the sale of Karaba Hotel, as well as his ownership stakes in a forex bureau called the Money Shop.
Did I?
Did you have any ownership stake in the Money Shop?
Yes, the same 49%.
The $2 million worth loan that you advanced to Baba Job was paid back, or was that in the form of shares?
It was not paid back, because this is the whole reason why. Because the thing is, we were insisting that we cannot transfer ownership of Kairaba to the president, to the ex-president, until those monies are paid.
Okay.
All right? So at the time I was taken from the bank, and at the time I was arrested and all that, that money was outstanding, as far as I can tell.
The last to appear before the Commission was one Adam Njai, a former staff of the Office of the President, who currently serves at the Environment Ministry. She was asked about payments from the Special Security account.
From 2011 to 2016, yes. Checks in your name amount to some $302 million. Yeah. Now, you are saying these were all for travel?
Yes.
Was there any reason why all travel was handled through cash?
I said it's a process, because I don't know why the security account is open and where is it open.
Mr. Jai, I'll have to stop you. What we are going to do, we'll have to come back. You're going to arrange all these documents by year.
As the Commission continues sittings, all 3 witnesses are to report back for clarity regarding other transactions. Modu Bajan reporting for GRTS News.
From the Commission to the National Assembly. The National Assembly Select Committee on Agriculture has adopted the National Agricultural Research Institute's technical and financial reports from 2014 to 16. The reports contain NARI's technical and financial activities during the 3 years under review. H.N. Silva was there, and this is his report.
The adoption of the report was preceded by a meticulous scrutiny by a panel of lawmakers and subject matter specialists. The process is a normal procedure which is often followed at Parliament before the adoption of any reports. The committee wanted to know, among other things, the depth owed to the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation SSHFC. The Honorable Member of Lower Fuladu West Alhaji Dabo also asked the institution's Director General Ansumana Jaju about the plans he has to start the usage of organic manure on vegetables instead of urea or compound fertilizer.
Using urea or compound fertilizers on vegetables rather than organic manure, don't you think it has some biological implications in terms of health?
The NARI boss, in his response to the two questions, said the SSHFC's liability was inherited. He also disclosed that his institution will soon start using organic manure, which he said increases soil durability and environmentally friendly. Subject matter specialist Umar N.R. Sonko also sought clarifications over the extension system in place, whether or not it is beneficial to the farmer folk. Sonko also tasked the NARI management to conduct more research on aflatoxin, a poisonous carcinogens that are produced by molds in mainly peanuts and maize.
Because we all know why our groundnut is not very much marketable, because of this aflatoxin. If the researchers have now come up with a solution, it is high time that this is disseminated.
It is a global address for the country needs as far as aflatoxin is concerned. GGC is seriously and aggressively working on that.
NARI was also advised by Honorable Alaji Silla of Kuntaur to provide fertilizers to farmers on time.
Because if you are advising farmers how they're supposed to use fertilizer and they don't have access to fertilizer on time, so at the end of the day, your research may not show.
The two parties all agreed to lobby support for the Ministry of Agriculture, a sector which used to contribute 40% of the country's economy. Etienne Silva, GRTS News.
The Supreme Court has begun sittings in a new session in Banjul. The session will continue until 24th November. A statement from the Office of the Chief Justice says, for the first time, the Supreme Court of the Gambia will have a full complete of 5 Gambians sitting as justices of the court. The judges are Hassan B. Jallo, Chief Justice, Jibril B. S. Jane, Raymond Sok, Chorno Suleiman Jallo, and Mam Yasin C. During the session, the court is expected to deliver 13 judgments in both civil and criminal cases. It will also hear 5 criminal appeals and 20 civil appeals. Now, the Gambia Bureau of Statistics Wednesday marked the African Statistics Day to raise public awareness on the importance of statistics data for economic growth. Liu Mendy reports.
The Gambia Bureau of Statistics said quality statistics data, if utilized by policymakers and users of the materials, remains a pillar for sustainable socio-economic growth of any nation. This is the objective of the ongoing 2-day dialogue for the producers and users of statistics data, championed by the National Bureau of Statistics as part of celebrations marking the African Statistics Day.
Strengthening dialogue between producers and users of statistics should be a core activity of every national statistics as the coordinator of the national statistics system.
Mr. Sanyan said it is always vital for users of statistic data to get their views on the materials as influential partners, hence this dialogue.
In countries where proper frameworks exist, user groups meetings are held before the user-producer forum so that they can share their experience and develop a consensus on what needs to be improved. In the Gambia, we have taken the initiative to conduct a user needs survey, and we intend to embark on the user satisfaction survey as steps to address data users' concern.
Better lives with better economic statistics is the theme for this year's celebration of the African Statistics Day. Gibo said the focus has shifted from issues relating to the importance of statistics in development planning, policy formulation, and contemporary topics on gender, environment, and open data to economic statistics.
And focuses on the critical role economic statistics plays in underpinning economic governance that leads to durable growth, linking economic growth with better lives and better economic status for all citizens of Africa in general and Gambia in particular, because here we are looking at the country.
The statisticians only believe that good government financial statistics can help improve the transparency and good governance of the economy and thus better the well-being of the people.
This morning, coming to this place, I realized the congestion on the roads. For a statistician, there is a link between the amount of cars, the availability of paved roads, the income generated from fuel and licensing. If we collect data properly, we can be able to put our fingers on all the possible leakages as far as revenue to government is concerned.
The media is critical in the dissemination of statistics data. The Director General of the Gambia Radio and Television Services, invited to the dialogue with Deputy Ablai Gassama, said this institution will play its role in taking statistics data information to the general public in the simplest form.
The media plays a very important role in this, because quite often most of the data that is gathered, analyzed and validated always stays with the policymakers, with very little trickling down to those that matter most. That's the ordinary people who bear the brunt of all these problems and on whose behalf we gather all this data.
This demonstration of the GBOS's Statistics Data Hub by the Forte Innovations and the presentations of sectoral statistics data information by different ministries, including Ministry of Agriculture, is expected to dominate the country's celebration of the 2017 African Statistics Day. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
The Minister of Agriculture, Omar Jallow, Wednesday ended his nationwide tour with visits to the Sukuta Women's Garden, the Gambia Women Federation Market, and an agro-processing plant in Kanifing. Fatima Tasisa traveled with the minister and filed in this news report.
In 2016, the Food and Agriculture Organization and the Gambia government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, signed a $17 million agreement to conduct a livestock census in the Gambia, which was last carried out in the country in 1993. Upon successfully conducting the livestock census exercise, officials of the Department of Livestock today converged to validate the report at an event graced by members of the agriculture sector and the farmer organizations, amongst others. The Minister of Agriculture, Omar Jallow, said the livestock sector contributes about 30% to the agriculture's GDP and about 10% to the national GDP. The establishment of a reliable and accurate data for the sector, he added, will fast-track the formulation of effective policy regulations and decision-making processes by private and public sector operators as well as other stakeholders.
The exercise reported the following: 292,837 cattle, 172,662 sheep, 328,336 goats, 14,830 pigs, and poultry 937,951. We also have horses, 22,070 horses in the Gambia, and 65,650 donkeys. This information will give policymakers and planners a better understanding of the current situation of the livestock production system.
The Director of Animal Production, Department of Livestock Services, Lamin Sen, said livestock contributes significantly to the national economy and the livelihood of the population, with the potential to make significant contributions towards food security and employment opportunities.
The growing demand for food of animal origin in developing countries, stimulated by population growth, gains in real per capita income, urbanization, represent a major opportunity for poverty reduction, economic growth, overall contribution to POL's 2015 development agenda.
While giving assurance of FAO's resolve to assist in the Department of Livestock Services in their drive to attain food security, the FAO country representative Perpetua Katepa Kalala expressed satisfaction over the firm commitment inserted by members of the Technical Cooperation Program in conducting a successful livestock census in the country.
We're tremendously pleased that we've got to the stage where we have the report. I had a chance to look very quickly through the draft report, and I really wish to congratulate the team. The Department of Livestock, it is a delight to work with the Department of Livestock in the Gambia. The team there is driven, the team is focused, they drove this whole process.
Fatima Tosisai, GRTS News.
Well, viewers, that report was on the validation of the 2016 Livestock Census report by stakeholders and not the tour as aforementioned. But to move on, the fourth edition of the boat fishing competition organized by the Gambia Tourism Board and partners has been opened in Kololi. The competition, according to officials, involves both local and tourists. Ibrahim Jallo has more in this report.
At a local restaurant in Senegambia, participants, mainly tourists, converged for the formal opening of the annual boat fishing competition. Staged by the Gambia Tourism Board, at least 11 competitors were confirmed at the end of Saturday's paperwork for the maiden competition set to last for a week. Mamadou Ba is the GT Board's Director of Quality Control and Licensing. Everything is in place to ensure safety at sea for the competition, according to Ba, who welcomed anglers for yet another tussle in the country's upland waters. The fishing race is said to be one of the newest, most exciting products of the country's tourism sector. GT Board's Director of Product Development said fishing remains a key element in diversifying the tourism industry.
Fishing is one big product that is known worldwide, and the Gambia has abundance of fish, and we have a wonderful river, and we thought we could have these two activities together to provide an experience that is unique only for the Gambia.
Participants already impressed with previous competitions are greatly enthusiastic about this year's edition.
I'm looking forward to taking home the champion.
How optimistic are you of winning?
Very. This is my second time, but Gambia lots of times. Yes, very optimistic.
After several attempts to win the award, anglers from around the world have returned to try their luck, sampling the delightful waters of the Gambia. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
Well, I equally look forward in participating in future events. Now, two local youth organizations, Lift and Mover, Tuesday held a congress at the American Corner along Caraba Avenue. Alajimbai has the rest.
The Congress, which brought together youths from across the Greater Banjul area, discussed issues affecting the young people in the areas of networking, entrepreneurship, innovation and social movements. A youth activist, Keba Omar Jain of Mova, called on the youths of the country to embrace innovation in order to create job opportunities and contribute to national development.
We wanted to look at networks and the actors in those networks and social movements. So really it was to have the youths ask themselves what kind of system are they living in, to challenge the status quo, because I think we are all seeking for growth and development. So we also touched on that and then provided examples about how we can influence the policy that affects our lives at the end of the day, because yes, we cannot do anything about it by sitting on our hands. So we have to know policy and we have to innovate as well and be willing to try things through entrepreneurship.
Yasin Hazala, also of Mova, advised young people to take advantage of the opportunities at their disposal.
We believe, Omar and I believe in collaboration, networks and sharing our mutual experience. So the main purpose of the event is to raise questions. So we're not two experts going to give an audience about a particular subject. We're here to raise questions for people to think about multiple things, and that was our main purpose to organize this event.
For his part, Dabah Malik of Lift enjoined youths to be steadfast in attending forums that discuss issues pertinent to their development and general well-being. He reiterated his organization's commitment to the welfare of young people.
The youths are our main target, and not only in urban Gambia but also in rural Gambia, because the reason why recently we are concentrating more on urban Gambia is because up to now we are at a trial stage. So maybe as we build up our strength and know our weaknesses, then we'll start rolling out across the country. But the aim is to change the mindset and the way the young people think and realize that we can all make it in Gambia. We just have to collaborate We just have to network and then see how best we can put our ideas together, positive ideas together, and then move the country. Because the reality is no person is coming from outside to change Gambia for us.
Various speakers described networking, funding, and expertise as key in entrepreneurship development and innovation. Alajimbai, GRTS.
Welcome back. And in sports, young people in the Gambia are gearing up for the 12th edition of the National Youth Conference Festival in December. As Modula Minsane reports, the organizers have already begun a tour to solicit support in making the event a success.
Organizers of the National Youth Convergence and Conference are currently on a flag tour to various ministries and offices. This pre-festival activity forms part of programs that are meant to inform and seek support from partners and stakeholders of the major youth convergence.
One fundamental impact NACOF continue to create is awareness. And sometimes we will say it is difficult to measure intangible, but awareness and capacity NACOF continue to build over the years. To ensure that we have citizens that are responsible, we have citizens that are aware of their government policies, and we have citizens that are willing to contribute to their national development.
They went around to seek backing and unveil plans drafted by the youths to making the event a success.
When we put our efforts together, we put our hands together, we'll be able to develop this country. But in the absence of that, it will be very difficult. So as a culture, with the NACON flag, every year, every time when NACON is coming, this is what we do. We take it round to all the authorities, all the ministries, to seek for their blessings and seek for their support, whether financial, kind, and everything.
Among the key issues that were tabled before the ministries is the youth program and policy. And with formidable roadmap, technocrats at the ministry assured them of their support.
With regards to employment, with regards to training, these are all things that we have got into the National Development Plan. I am so most of you are privileged to look at. And with that, I am so we will be able to forge a very good relationship with the youth cohorts of this country. I'm happy that you are working in line with what exactly in government purpose. So I'm happy that we will continue to work together as a unit.
We all know how important that component, youth stage, is in the development of any country. And I would like to assure to you that our ministry will definitely be always part of the development of the youth and helping the youths.
Officials at various offices pledged their support to ensure a successful NACOF.
Empowering youths will certainly help to, to not only transform our economy, but also address the national development challenges that we have for that particular sector. And I am also pleased that a lot of advocacy is being conducted by the National Youth Council.
This year's Youth Convergence is expected to host over 2,000 young people in the multicultural town of Basse in December. They will discuss issues relevant to their lives and assess youth policy programs, among other youth empowerment programs and sports. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Modula Minsane.
Welcome back. And now, reports from Zimbabwe say the army has taken over power. The army made the move days after Army Chief of Staff General Constantino Junega weighed in on the recent political crisis gripping the Southern African nation. Well, now, viewers, that brings us to the end of this newscast. Before we take leave of you, a quick reminder of our headlines once more. The Vice President Ajaratu Fatoumata Jallow Tambajang has reaffirmed government's commitment to protecting human rights. The National Assembly Select Committees continue their scrutiny of the activity report of public institutions. The army in Zimbabwe has seized power, with reports indicating that President Mugabe has been placed under house arrest. And South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters Party has called for the nationalization of private banks. Well, now, viewers, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. I am Tenengisi, and do have a pleasant evening.